Good morning, migrant leaders, mentees, and students. My name is Elham Fardod, and I am the founder and CEO of the charity Migrant Leaders. Welcome to our annual education conference, which is fundamentally about helping young people get into universities. We have, as ever, a really exciting agenda for you, which we'll be introducing a bit later. But I will start by telling you a little bit about Migrant Leaders Development Program and about my own background. I moved from Iran as a migrant with my family back in 1986 when I was 13 years old. And even though my family were relatively educated, our family still experienced many of the difficulties and challenges that migrant families experience, such as lack of resources, lack of know-how, lack of connections, visa problems, and family breakup. So by the time I was 18 years old, I found myself alone and without any money or hope. But I knew one thing, that education was going to be the way I will get myself out of that situation. And I realized that as a young migrant growing up in Birmingham, I wouldn't be counted as a home student, but financially I needed that in order to go to university. I was more than happy to work part-time while I was in full-time education in order to pay for my expenses. But for my tuition fees, I needed a bit of help and to be counted as a home student. So I camped outside Birmingham City Council offices for 3 days in a row until someone in a position of authority was so kind that they helped me be counted as a home student, and off I went to university. And it was because of that opportunity that someone kindly gave me and I grabbed. I managed to get my degree, qualify as a chartered accountant, and a few years later got my first big break in the company GE as a financial controller. And the rest was history. I spent the next 20 years as a finance director in GE, News Corp, and Ernst & Young. Back in 2017, I thought that I had done all right. I had achieved some of the things I wanted to achieve. But then a report called the Parker Review was published, which looked at the ethnic diversity and social mobility in boardrooms in the UK. And I realized actually that young people like I used to be are still having quite severe disadvantages and challenges like I had. And I really wanted to do something about it. So I launched the charity Migrant Leaders. And what we do today is we have now almost 700 senior mentors from 95 big companies and organizations. And we match these mentors very carefully to young people's aspirations in terms of the kind of jobs they want to do, the kind of companies and industries they want to work in, and the development needs that they have. So we match a mentor to you very carefully. And we also have a lot of good relationships and corporate partnerships with companies such as Anglo American, Smith & Nephew, Cantor. So we deliver conferences, workshops, training, work experiences, and virtual internships, as well as the tools and training that we give you in order to help you develop yourselves so that by the time you get your first professional job, you are a lot readier than I was to progress and move up these organizations. So without further ado, I want to introduce Kate Kettle next, who I am proud to say I met at the very early stages of developing Migrant Leaders charity. I remember meeting Kate in a conference, in a youth conference, and talking to her. She was in the widening participation department of King's College at the time. And I remember meeting Kate and talking with her and thinking, my goodness, I've got to get her involved with our charity because she is so knowledgeable about how to get students into top universities And she is so engaged and genuinely cares about social mobility and helping and developing young people. So I'm proud to say that Kate joined our charity back then as a member of the advisory board and has been working and collaborating with us ever since. So without further ado, I am proud to introduce to you Kate Kettle. Thank you.
We're actually going to talk to Day Gettier now, who is one of our interns. He's our IT intern, and he actually did Kate's masterclass, and he's on a gap year at the moment. But I know that after he submitted his UCAS application, he was sent unconditional offers, and he's going to be starting his mechanical engineering degree at Manchester University September coming. I'm going to ask Day a few questions about his experience with the masterclass, and he can share he found it basically. So welcome, Day.
Hi,
With us,
Fozia.
great stuff. Welcome, Day. Good to see you. Good to have you join us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Why don't we start by I'll ask you to explain to people how you came to involved with doing the masterclass, how you came to make that choice.
Right. So last September, I decided with Alham's help that I'm going to be reapplying to universities, and therefore it was a period of a month where I had to decide which universities I was going to apply to and create a competitive personal statement. And she thought of Kate straight away and put us in connection so I can then follow on to do the masterclass. And we decided, and with the academic history that I had at the time, that Oxford application with the other top 5 would be a great choice for me, because I have those grades to back up that that application. So then we went on to create a personal statement, a competitive application, in a month's time before the 15th of October to apply for university.
Great stuff.
That was really good.
How did the masterclass help you organise your thoughts to get your personal statement ready?
Right. So at the time, I had already taken a gap year. So this is my second gap year, and within the time between year 12 and at the application of last year, September, I had done various different activities that can contribute to a university application. I've done 3 work experience weeks. I've had 3 summer schools. I had read a couple of books. I've had a couple of insights into some documentaries and also mentoring programs like Migrant Leaders and SMF programs. So there was a lot to unpack in my personal statement. And I think the masterclass really helped me decide which one was relevant to the application that I was creating for engineering. So I was applying for mechanical engineering for most universities, and then I think for Cambridge it's just engineering, but for Oxford it's engineering as well, but it's mechanical engineering. I had to unpack a lot of that information and make sure it's tailored to engineering, and the rest was irrelevant to my application. So it helped me distinguish between which was important and what was not.
Great stuff. And can you tell us what was the easiest part of the masterclass?
Right. So the easiest part of the masterclass would have to be unpacking the information, because I think it made it quite straightforward of what was relevant and what was not. Yeah, I think
you mentioned you'd done a bullet point list.
I did do a list of things, a bullet point list of things that that I can include in a personal statement. So that was pretty much the easy thing, because I just have to remember what I did. But that list was incredibly long. But it's like some of the things that you put in that list it's very personal to you, and it may not be relevant to a engineering degree application. Which one of them was being that I took a year out from my first gap year, and I was working as a chef, right? And that was an amazing, extraordinary experience that I've had in that year. But I don't think that was quite relevant to the university application. Although it being a great experience, it didn't really quite relate to an Oxford application for engineering. Whereas something like a HS2 work experience week, where I had insight into civil engineers and project managers who managed those engineers at Jacobs, which was a great insight that I could have put in my personal statement.
Yeah, sounds like a really helpful exercise
definitely.
to complete.
It helps
and
cut
to be able
down
to
the
distinguish
information
between
because I think it makes it more rich rather than just quantity.
Yeah. And I suppose it also helps, as Kate was mentioning earlier, about bringing out your personality,
Right.
helps you identify which bits are kind of part of your personality.
Right.
And I know that you're a great chef, aren't you? So I know that's kind of part of your personality, a strong personality. And it also means that you can identify practical things that are completely relatable to the degree courses that you're intending to apply for. So what was the easier part? What was the harder part? And when you tell us about that, perhaps you can tell us, advise our delegates about how they can approach that.
Right. I mean, for me personally, the hardest part was the first line. I'm pretty sure for most people that's the hardest part, because you come back to the first line like 1,000 times when you're writing your personal statement, even after you finished it off, because sometimes it just doesn't sit right with you. But I think in the master's class, it was like you just start it, you just create that volume, and then you can work around that information to create a really good first line. And that's what I did, because for even cover letters, personal statements, the first line is just one of those things that you just look at it, and then keep looking at it until you go crazy. But we got to a point where it was good enough to put into the application, and then I just forgot about it. But the first line is definitely the most difficult one for me.
Tell us, Dave, how did you feel once you'd completed your personal statement?
Right, so it was the greatest relief I felt in the month, in a whole month. So I think for everyone that's here right now, I think personal statement is something that you want to just finish off and put in a folder as soon as possible, irrespective of what course you're applying to, even if the deadline's in January. Because you never know. For what happened with me, where I didn't know I was going to be applying to Oxford in a month's time, but it ended up happening. So with that kind of mindset, I think you should finish it off before the 15th of October. But again, it's for everyone's kind of personal kind of circumstances. Some people may have work experience between that November time or October time, which they'll put in the personal statement for a January application. But I think as soon as possible is definitely the best protocol here.
Yeah, actually, just to address Shakia's question earlier on, we do have this in our PIPS guidance that I put the link to in the chat box. It's the 15th of October for medical degrees and Oxford or Cambridge applications, and then it's the 15th of January for other universities and other courses. But those notes are in our little guidance booklet that we sent links to in the emails and in the chat box. So do you think there are other benefits to submitting your application early? Because you don't have to wait until the 15th of January, do you?
So for the so you don't have, I think it's the 23rd of January, but sometimes it's the 15th. If it's, I think it was before COVID, it was 15th. I'm not too sure. But I think the other benefits are, from what my experiences with my friends and kind of colleagues and stuff have noticed is even if you're applying to really competitive universities like Oxford, I think if you put your application in early, the other universities, where even though they're not Oxford or top five, even if they're Russell Group, a lot of them reply to your personal statement at that early stage. And that's what I've noticed. Even if they're really good universities, like University of Exeter, University of Southampton, they're great for specific engineering courses. And they reply to the students early because they have an idea that the student might have applied to Oxford or Cambridge. So in that sense, you could put yourself at an advantage at getting into those early kind of slots for those offers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before.
So, Kate, I don't know if you want to come in here. It's kind of a balancing act.
Yes, I think that's true. Yeah, so it is true. So Day is completely right that if you get your application in early, there is a chance that the universities will read it, consider it, and maybe even make you an offer at that early stage. So that's a great thing. There's also a big disadvantage to going very late. So if you put it in sort of November time, that's fine, but you really want it in before Christmas. You do not want to be faffing about with it in January. That is, first of all, really stressful for you, really stressful for your teachers. Also, it just drags it on too long. Like January is very much the end deadline. It's definitely, you should not be working towards that deadline. It's too late. And also it means that, where are we now? We're in June. You do not want to be talking about your personal statement for another 6 months. It's just too long. And you'll tie yourself in knots as well. So it's not in your interest. It's much better. Bosh it out over the summer, get it drafted by September, submit it in October. Happy days. Then you've got the rest of Christmas and the autumn to actually focus on more important things.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Kate. And Dave, thank you very much. It's really helpful, I think, for people to hear of a personal experience of having done a masterclass.
I just wanted to mention something to the students, something that is to do with their resilience and mental toughness through this process. When we talk to wonderful, capable, ambitious students like Day and their success story, it might sound to the students like it is all smooth and plain sailing and it's a success story with the result we wanted. It's wonderful. And I know personally, having worked with Day very, very closely, I know that even for the best students like Day who are capable and ambitious, the journey is never easy. There are disappointments along the way. There are unexpected rejections along the way. You have to do what Day did, which is to keep his feet firmly on the ground, deal with every decision, eventuality, and event with care and feet on the ground and with humility, and make informed decisions using his support network. So don't worry about the process being tough. That's normal even for the best students.